Right, and we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's Rugby World Cup daily news show. Apologies for being a bit late. We're supposed to be live about an hour ago, but unfortunately, a couple of things on our side we had to sort of change and sort of adapt to. As a result, we are a little bit late, but we will still be bringing you all the rugby news from the World Cup as we sit there and we build up for what is going to be a very exciting match tomorrow evening. France versus New Zealand, the opening game, and it's going to be a big clash. We've got a team announcement from Scotland, which will happen tomorrow. Quite a lot of team announcements happening today. Johnny Sexton is back, by the way. He has been named for Ireland tomorrow, and that'll be interesting to see exactly how he goes this weekend. First game back since the Six Nations this year. So quite a lot to talk about over the next sort of 25 to 30 minutes in our rugby news show. If you have any questions, get them into the comments as well. And I've got I'm trying to think of a poll. So if you've got any ideas for a good poll to if you've got to put in the comments, please let me know. But yeah, lots to talk about over the next sort of 25 minutes. There's a couple of announcements coming up on the channel as well, by the way, which should be quite exciting. So yeah, make sure you do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We've got our official Super Brew poll or league going, which has got well over 100 people already. We've launched our fantasy league, which we're going to put in the description now and try and get people onto that as well. So lots and lots of exciting things to announce. But basically, over the next sort of 20-25 minutes, we're talking about World Rugby Spygate. We're going to be talking a little bit about Johnny Sexton. We're going to be talking about some of the teams that have been announced, as well as some of the sort of the general news. We're talking a little bit about Rassie Erasmus, who has decided to go and create a little bit of, I wouldn't say controversy, but a bit of mind games already happening from the Springbok director of rugby, who has unfollowed every single person on his personal Twitter except for one account, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So quite a lot to get through in the next 20-25 minutes. If you are new to the channel, we are past the 39,000 subscriber mark, so thank you to all those who did help us get past there yesterday. If you are new to the channel, smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel. This new show will happen every single day, and so much talk about. And this is before the World Cup starts, let alone once it does officially start, and then we are really into the thick of things. So what I want to start with is I want to talk about the Spygate, in inverted commas. There is apparently a big World Rugby or World Cup Spygate which is happening, and an interesting story. We saw this back in the last World Cup, so this is not something new, but an interesting aspect to add. And the big thing is, and what makes it so interesting is how little details there are about it. So this is a story that came out initially on Thursday, on Tuesday, and also sort of as a bit of an update on it yesterday after the All Blacks were asked about it. But the Telegraph in the UK wrote a story, and the headline was "Rugby World Cup plunged into spy row after team expressed fears." It was an exclusive to the Telegraph. And what the Telegraph said is that a leading Tier 1 nation is understood to have asked World Rugby for clarifications about sanctions for any team found spying, and that any advantage for some tactics could prove decisive in what is expected to be the most competitive World Cup since 1987, apparently. So basically, Telegraph Sport are saying that they understand that there is a belief that training sessions have been spied on by international teams in recent years. So that is completely separate to a specific event in recent years. Sources close to the Lions back in 2021 say that there were major concerns that their training had been observed by South Africa during the 2021 tour, and use of espionage, all the big words out here, espionage, to gain an advantage in Test rugby has been an ongoing concern and a bone of contention. So in this particular incident, they are saying, or basically loosely saying, that apparently the Springboks were accused or thought of to be spying on the British and Irish Lions back in 2021. Eddie Jones raised similar concerns during the World Cup in Japan 4 years ago, saying that New Zealand may have been recording England's training sessions ahead of their semi-final in Yokohama. So Jones said that the England security team, including one of Prince Harry's former bodyguards, apparently as relevant, became aware of someone using a long lens camera to film their entire training station from the balcony of a nearby apartment overlooking their training pitch. As a result, he joked that England had sent a member of staff to spy on the All Blacks. Further to that, Martin Bayfield, who's a former British and Irish lock, revealed that England had spied on an entire training session by Australia ahead of their quarterfinal in 1995 World Cup. Security at each team venue has been described as extremely tight, including police officers guarding training venues and team hotels in what is thought to be a dry run ahead of the Olympic Games in Paris next year. They said that, this is still the Telegraph article, by the way, one said that the security provision included 6 police officers attached to the team with the same number of private security personnel also patrolling the team hotel. The concerns are that their presence is primarily to combat any terrorist threat and help with travel to and from training rather than monitoring any spying or cheating from both teams. This is a quote so one source said that it is important to know what the sanctions are if a team is caught spying, given what is on the line. Is it a points deduction or a fine? The stakes could not be higher. Apparently, World Rugby have been contacted and asked to comment, but they have declined to comment on the thing. So it says that the new regulations, which apply to the World Cup, said that teams are permitted 2 dedicated water carriers, for example, during the thing, neither of which can be director of rugby or head coach, and they must remain in the technical zone. Obviously, that's the whole water carriers thing. But basically, there's a big thing about potentially teams spying on each other to try and gain an advantage. Now, Ian Foster was asked about this situation yesterday, and he said, "Welcome to the World Cup." He said, "It wasn't us, but was anyone spying on us? No one knows who asked or who was spying, but the speculation is right." So he says that there's a lot of pressure on people react different ways. It's an exciting time, and everyone's looking for an edge. So he then said that we are pretty confident. We've been training alone, but who knows? So they're saying they're not worried about spies. Some of us play golf. It's been a bit of cards, but just anything really, said Bowden Barrett, in terms of how they're sort of remaining off. But basically, there's no proof at this stage, or major proof, nor any sort of certainty regarding if there has been any sort of spying by team or who's been trying to spy and stuff. But that is the current accusation, that a tier 1 side reckon that they have been spied upon, and they are therefore sort of raising the alarm and trying to understand what the punishment would be if a team is if the team has in fact been spied on. So we wait and see, don't we? We wait and see. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because there's no doubt that if you can film training sessions, that you could find an advantage. You know, there's no doubt that teams are busy running patterns, that teams are looking at certain tactics to try and get an edge. You know, that's not up for debate, really. You know, teams will be doing that, obviously. And so if you know all of a sudden the Springboks are actually practicing a very much a running-based game and not a forward-dominant game, you can then prepare for that. But it's an interesting thing to try and control, because, you know, you're never going to be in a isolated space. There's always going to be areas around you. People have got drones. People have got long lenses. There are lots of different ways that people can try and find ways to try and watch on what's going on. So it's quite a difficult thing to really stop, isn't it? But it is an interesting thing. And I think the big thing that people are asking is that they're not sitting there saying we can't stop it. But what is the sanction if they do? You know, are teams going to be penalized? Are teams going to be deducted fines and stuff like that? What is the chat? So yeah, so going to some of the comments. So earlier, Monsieur Arteta saying is weak teams, weak individuals who spy. Play your own game and focus on your own World Cup. Leandro says, August Stevie worth of the wait. So thank you for waiting for the show. Michelle says, watching other teams practice is not going to make your game better. Just all noise again. Can't have a World Cup without drama. Albert reckons that I bet Ireland said French was spying, saying that a drone with a good zoom can easily spy. Maybe that's why the box requested permission to leave the team early. So it's an interesting thing. As I said, I don't think you'll ever be able to really stop it. If a team really wants to spy on another team, I don't think you'll be able to successfully stop it. I think there is far too much room for error, and there's far too much possibility and space to be able to get it done. The question I think people are now asking is, if it does happen and when it does happen and they get caught, what is the punishment? Are we talking about a points deduction? Are we talking about a monetary fine? And all of a sudden, you know, all of a sudden we need to talk about, as I said, I think some teams think that other teams are, and whether they're willing to then go to World Rugby and say, listen, as South Africa, we think Scotland are spying on us, we've got the proof. But I think a lot of people want to understand what would actually happen if they did that proof. What can you and can't you do in your build-up? Obviously, I don't think you can just go and throw up a drone and go watch the entire practice. So it's an interesting scenario, isn't it? And I think it's something that a lot of these teams are going to have to adapt to. Again, what's interesting is the fact that the core crux of the article and the conversations are not about if somebody is spying, but more that they are, and if they were to be caught doing it, what is the punishment? What will happen to the teams that are found guilty to have done so? So we wait and see, though. We have to wait and see on exactly what will happen. I don't want to talk too much about it because there's not a lot of information readily available about the concept. What I do want to talk about is Rassie Erasmus, who is apt to his usual games. I tell you what, we don't deserve Rassie. He is such a laugh. He is so dramatic at times, so loves the drama, and always very contentious. So Rassie Erasmus has updated his Twitter. And I think that's a good way of saying it. Rassie Erasmus has updated his Twitter, and he's unfollowed absolutely every single person. The only person he is following is Scottish Rugby. He's got, I think it's 120,000 subscribers. I can check however many subscribers he has. But he's only following one person, and that is Scotland Rugby. He's done this before, by the way. As I said, he's got such a good sense of humor from him. So yeah, he's got 136,000 subscribers. The last tweet he made was about the World Cup, but he's only currently following one person, and that is Scotland Rugby. He is the master of mind games. A lot of people talking about the fact that is why we announced our team yesterday, so that mind games and try and sort of make it seem as if we are. That we don't really care what Scotland do, and try and get Scotland to focus on us rather than them. So whatever the reasons are, how much we talk about where the mind games are, where the mind games aren't, Rassie Erasmus is somebody who likes to just add a bit of spice, a little bit of extra things to any sort of proceedings. And he has decided to go and follow Scotland as his only follower account on his Twitter to just add a bit of something to it, which is good fun. I enjoy that. I think it's a good banter. But yeah, anyway, Albert was saying maybe that's why the box requested permission to release the team early with regards to the whole spying thing. I think that has more to do with the fact that we had those real big issues with leaks during the British and Irish Lions series, where the team was coming out early. Saeed says, I wonder how the set plays and moves works at the international level, like how often the teams switch up their calls. Surely you can get all the info you need for just studying past games. I think you can get a lot of info, but obviously, for example, South Africa had the move in inverted commas that they used the last World Cup. And if that's never been used before, you can't prepare for what you've never seen. So there is always going to be one or two things that you might be holding back, for example. Albert saying, I don't trust the French or the English. Anthony, hopefully we sorted out the output volume. Michelle saying that how much you want to bet this will become an excuse if one of the top teams lose. Well, we'll wait and see, won't we? Maybe it's a valid excuse. Maybe it's not a valid excuse. But until something happens, and until there's proof that it did happen, it's all just speculation, isn't it? At the end of the day. Other news is that there are a couple of team announcements which have happened, and Johnny Sexton is back. And can we have a moment of silence for Romania, because the team that Scotland have named for this weekend is very, very strong. Let's talk about it, shall we? So this is the team that they have named for Romania on the weekend. It is Andrew Porter, Rob Herring, Tyke Furlong, Joe McCarthy, James Ryan, Tyke Byrne, Peter O'Mahony, Caelan Doris, Jamison Gibson Park, Johnny Sexton, James Lowe, Bundy Aki, Gary Ringrose, Keith Earls, Hugo Keenan. The replacements are Ronan Kelleher, Jeremy Lauman, Tom O'Toole, Ian Henderson, Josh van der Fleer, Conor Murray, Jack Crowley, Robbie Henshaw. I mean, that is an absolute mental 23. Interesting is that Johnny Sexton is the captain of the squad, and yet Caelan Doris has been named captain of the team for the weekend. But he's back. Johnny Sexton is back. And I saw a list yesterday, and it was a list of the top fly-halves in the world. And he was ranked down at 8. But below Jalabert, below Libok, I sat there going, how can you have watched Johnny Sexton over the last 2 years and not consider him one of the top 4 best fly-halves in the world? And someone said, oh, he hasn't played any rugby over he's played 8 games in the last 12 months. He played 4 out of 5 Six Nations games this year. He won every single match he played in, by the way, scoring 35 points. He started last year when they beat the Box. He has been one of the top standout fly halves for a long time. And if you don't think he is, then I don't think you've been watching a lot. Whether you like him or you don't like him, he has been one of the top fly halves in the world for the last 2 years. He was, in fact, nominated for World Player of the Year last year. He's a top player. So if you don't, with regards to what you think about him, if you don't rate him, then you don't rate him at your own peril. But that is an absolute mental squad to be named. I mean, Josh van der Fleer, World Player of the Year, on the bench. You struggle to see where they get much stronger, to be honest. Yes, van der Fleer probably comes in for Tyke Byrne. He probably switches to number 4 lock and plays Joe McCarthy. I personally think Robbie Henshaw should be starting, and then Mac Hansen ahead of Keith Earls. That's the only way I think that this island side gets any stronger. And it's still an incredibly strong island side. So, yeah, I think that they've gone full strength. They want to make sure they go out there, have a bit of a hit out, get the business done against Romania. I think they'll rotate again next weekend, and obviously then go full strength for the Box in 2 weeks' time. So, but it's an interesting side. It is a very interesting side. There's no doubt about it. Other team announcements is that we can look a little bit about the Italian team. We're going to look at the Australian team. So if you look at the Australian team, Taniela Tupou is set to make his 50th appearance for Australia. He has been named in the starting lineup, which is as follows. It is Angus Bell, David Parecki, Taniela Tupou, Richard Arnold, Will Skelton, Tom Hooper, Fraser McGrath, Rob Valentini. That is your pack. Then it is Tate McDermott, Carter Gordon, Marikai Korobetti, Samuel Karevi, Jordan Bataya, Mark Nawangani Tawase, Ben Donaldson at 15, which is an interesting call. And then off the bench, it is Matt Faisler, Blake Shrupp, Zane Longo, Robert Liotta, Langi Geeson, Nick White, Lalakai Feketi, and Suli Valivalu. It's a very inexperienced bench. Yeah, I mean, Brent Donaldson's never played fullback in his career for Australia. This is literally his first ever international match. He's played 2 caps off the bench and mostly a fly half. I think he's come off at fullback, but mostly a fly half for 83 minutes total of the Test rugby he has played. It's an incredibly inexperienced side. Eddie Jones is just rolling the dice here, isn't he? Will Skelton is the captain. He'll be making his captaincy debut. And ironically, he made his captaincy debut in the last game at the same venue. He became the first lock cap to captain Australia in a Rugby World Cup since Dean Mum back in 2015. So it's a second game as captain, but yeah, a bit of a shock captain candidate, wasn't Will Skelton? I'm not sure it's the right decision, to be perfectly honest. Italy have also named their side. It is as follows. They are going to be playing against Namibia on Saturday. It is Daniela Pachetti, Giacomo Nicotera, Simone Ferrari, Dino Lam, Federico Razza, Sebastian Negri, Michelle Lamara, captain, Lorenzo Canoni, who I think is absolutely brilliant, Stephen Varney at number 9, Paolo Garbizzi at 10, Montana Ioane, Monty Ioane is back, Andrew Capuzzo is at 14, by the way, the World Bakery Player of the Year, Tommaso Allen is at 15, your centre pairing for the Italians are Luca Marizzi and Jean Ignacio Brecht. Your replacements are Hammer Fiver, Ivan Nima, Marco Ricciani, David Sisi, Manuel Zuliano, Martin Pedrello, Paolo Odogwu, and Pierre Bruno. So those are the Italians that have been named to play against Namibia this weekend. Hopefully all the South Africans are really rooting for our, northern, slightly, I mean, still Southern African neighbours, but more north than we are. They're up against Italy this weekend. I think Italy should have a pretty straightforward time in going to beat them. But, yeah, we'll wait and see. Going to some of the comments over here. Albert says, Sexton is unlikable. Michelle says, if you want to have bragging rights and beating teams, you want to play against their full-strength sides. Saif says, Ireland has a phenomenal side, but the toughest run this tournament. Essentially, 2 more warm-up games for them, then knockout rugby, hard road to the title. How cool a surname like Ferrari is, yeah, and then he's a prop just to really... So... Yeah, so just to really sort of add a bit of irony to him that Simone Ferrari is in the front row. And at tight end as well. We were not generally your fastest players. But yeah, that's pretty much the news we've got so far for today. We'll be live once again tomorrow for our new show. So please do come and join us then. If you are new to the channel, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven.